Okay, so if you could tell us a story about how who you are has affected your experiences on the campus, that would be great.
Okay. So last year was my first year just in Pennsylvania as a student, as a resident on campus, everything. I had a white roommate and white suite mates, and we all got along just fine. I could tell that we were a bit different. I came from New Jersey, and I came from a blended family. They came from very conservative families. They were all Christian. It was fine though. There wasn't a conflict there. The real, I guess, developments, the part where I changed myself, where I felt like I grew though, came when I met my boyfriend, and when we got a bit more serious, and I met his grandparents, and they're wonderful people. I definitely get along with them fine, but we come from such different places. My grandparents still live in the Caribbean and they live in Pennsylvania, and the views and the cultures that we come from, me and my boyfriend have definitely shown me more than anything who I am than anything I've ever experienced. There was this one day, I was having a rough day already, but I was trying to keep it together because it was my boyfriend's mother's birthday. So we went over his grandparents' house, and the first thing his grandfather pulls out is this huge machine gun that he just bought because he thought that Obama was coming to get him. And the lower social classes were gonna just destroy his house, and he had like sandbags and all these things, and he was kind of joking about it, but he was mostly serious. And I kind of felt offended in a way because I'd never seen so much stuff to hurt people with in one room. I've never even held a gun to this day. I've never shot a gun. And he's a war veteran. He served in Vietnam. And the whole atmosphere completely changed for myself, in myself, where I kind of wanted to get up and leave, or get up and cry, or get up and call my parents. But I couldn't do that because it was somebody's birthday and, we were having a good time. He was just, and I don't even think anyone realized that I was so stressed. But I was, because coming from my family, that's not how we dealt with things. I've never even been hunting. It's the most aggressive thing I've ever done is maybe paintballing with a slingshot, and bows and arrows, archery. But I realized that it was so different being there in that situation, and all of a sudden I realized how much of a conviction I had and how against it I was. And it took me months to really simmer down and realize that it's okay, he's not going to shoot me in the middle of the night or something, which sounds funny, but really was something that I was considering because I did come from somewhere that he was not the same with, like he was not aligned with. My mom's a Hindu, my dad's an atheist, I'm Taoist, and I'm proud of that. And I love my family, but he is very Christian. He is very into serving God and his country. And I respect that. I think that's a great value to have. And I think that's maybe the reason why, we get along now. But for the longest time, it was hard for me. And I think until I realized that, there are people that will disagree with me and that I can be okay with that, it wasn't until then that we were able to connect. And that's actually kind of the reason I like being here at Penn State Harrisburg is because I meet people like that, but I also meet people exactly like me, or I meet international students, like I'm a part of, the Global Alliance program and the Model UN hosted by the IAA. I love those sorts of things where I get to meet people who come from really strange places, honestly, but just as normal as me, Their story is just as normal and just as unique as my story and my life. And I think that's what makes it so special to be here, is because, yeah, we're in the middle of Middletown. It's an average community, but it's so much more than that. And being that it is so small and so diverse, I feel like I've had this great opportunity to really develop the sense of who I am to others and who I am to myself, and how I handle really hard times, like with his grandfather with the gun, and I was so shocked. Also with times where I meet a cute little Asian girl and she becomes my best friend, and you know how my best friend who is Asian views me, or how I view my boyfriend's grandfather, or how he views me, or he views my best friend. It's all relative, and I feel like that was definitely a hard experience for me, but it was definitely one of the things that made me grow, and I wouldn't have had that had I not been here. I definitely wouldn't have had that in New Jersey unless I really went out and looked for it. I wouldn't have it anywhere, really. I wouldn't have found a small campus that was really diverse and also really American anywhere but here. And I am really thankful that I ended up here. I think that if I hadn't, I wouldn't be who I am, and I like who I am. I'm proud of that.
Nice. And can you explain what a blended family means to you?
Oh, well, my mother and my father both came from Trinidad, but and they were the first here, but they divorced. And now my stepdad, he's Ukrainian. He came here when he was 4. And then my stepsisters were adopted by my stepdad. And one of them is African American, and one of them is half African American, and I think some sort of Caucasian. Plus, I have a little sister who is actually my cousin, but we adopted her when her mother passed away. She's from Trinidad. So I'm not blood related to anyone in my family, but my cousin, who's my sister, and my mother. So I consider us to be blended because we're two families that blended. I like that, though. That's my favorite thing about my family, is the perspective it's given me. I think when I was little, I mightn't have liked it because people, even today, people when we go to restaurants don't assume that we're together, but we are. And I think that's what makes us special, and I think that's why I have my major as international relations, is because I'm interested in relations between different nations and races and language borders. All of these things, I think they're really important to understand and learn about. I think that's what a blended family is to me, although I don't actually know the term, the definition. That's what people call us, so that's what makes sense, I guess.
It sounds like the combination of being from a blended family plus your experiences at Penn State Harrisburg, they knit together really well.
Perfectly.
Thank
They
you.
do. Thank you.